Nope,
You're just
muted.
muted again.
Sorry. Hold on.
Okay,
Okay,
there
there
you
you go.
go.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, David asked me at the couple few minutes ago, I guess I just got off of a Zoom with my wife and he wanted me to share my story. And I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did just a few minutes ago with the other Zoom I was on. I really feel compelled to actually share such a story because it's been an interesting journey for me in the past year and a half. I'm going to start literally from the beginning for me, and I'm just going to fast forward to where the most recent past 2 months has been like for me. On January 31st of 2024, I was rushed to the hospital, and I was told at that time that after pulling my blood work, due to a kidney injury, that I had a 5% kidney capacity, and I should be dead. Um, Not exactly in those words verbatim, but that's pretty much what they meant to say to me. And they said, you will have to be, I was in the hospital for 6 days, which in that 6 day period, because of a kidney injury, I was diagnosed as what they call stage 4 CKD, chronic kidney disease. And in that time, I was in the hospital. They said, all you can do is hopefully get better, and time will tell you whether you will do that or not. And I said, well, that's my only course of action here, is to just kind of wait around and see. He said, when you have a severe kidney injury like yours, he said, there is nothing else you can do. There's no medication. There's nothing you can do. So I said, okay. So I went on from that period of time when I got out of the hospital in the first part of February of 2024. I went on for the balance, let's just say for the balance of the entire year, for periodical checkups. And each time I would go to the doctor, his story was the same. He said, you're not getting any better. He said, but you're not getting worse. So that's something to celebrate. And I said, well, I don't really know how that's a celebration, but he said, well, as long as you're maintaining your levels, then hopefully we can keep you at a point where we don't have to go to the next stage. And at that point, I knew what he meant, but I didn't want to actually say it myself. So I said, okay. And then January 2025 rolls around. That's my annualized visit. On that visit, the tune changed a little bit. He said, you're never going to have normal kidney function again, and you're never getting any better from here. It's just something you simply have to accept. And I said, so I have no course of action that I can take that's going to actually help me improve my situation. And he said, no, unfortunately, no. So I said, okay. And at that point in time, it wasn't getting any worse, but like I said, it wasn't getting any better. So my next appointment is usually 90 days out, 120 days out. So they sit there and called me in April, at the end of April. And as soon as my doctor walked through the door, he says, how are you feeling? I said, good, good days, bad days. I said, I don't understand the line of questioning. He said, well, I need to sit down and talk to you very candid here. He said, your blood work is getting worse. He said, you're at, and I'm going to use these terms, and for somebody that's never had a kidney based issue would probably not even understand this unless they're a doctor or they've gone through this themselves. There's three acronyms they use when you're talking kidney function. There's something called your creatinine, your BUN, and your GFR. They're three very important numbers. And to roll back, when I originally went in the hospital, my creatinine was 11.2. A normal creatinine is under 1.5. My BUN was approaching 90, high 80s, 90. Um, and so, I mean, I was way off the charts. And my GFR was down to 5 in January of 2024, January 31st, 2024. So he said, in April, he said, your GFR has dropped from, I was stabilizing at 21, it dropped to 18. Your creatinine is at 3.4, almost 3.5, still not good. He says, and your BUN is at around high 40s, 47, 48, 49, whatever it was, the number. I could pull up my paperwork sometime and actually show this as a comparison. And I was just like, well, what does this actually mean overall? He said, well, we need to talk about putting you on dialysis education. He said, in referring you over to dialysis. I said, well, and a kidney transplant list. He wanted me on kidney transplant. And I said, you're coming at me a little bit too fast here. I said, I don't really know what you, this is a lot to take in a matter of this visit. And he said, well, I'm just giving it to you real. He said, you're not getting better. And he says, at 15, you will have to go on dialysis or you will not live. And I'm at 18. This is in April. I said, so there's no hopes at any point in time throughout this that I'm going to get better. He said, no. He said, I've been a doctor for 30 years. You're not getting better from this point. Your numbers are never going to improve. They're only going to get worse or stabilize. That's your best case scenario. I said, okay, this is pretty depressing. So I go home next 2 days. I have extreme high depression. I have my daughter calling me up, got a little bit of a medical background. She says, I'm going to look into donating you a kidney. She just had a baby 4 months ago. This was getting pretty depressing to hear. I said, this is not the road I wanted to go down. I said, this isn't me. This isn't the way I live. This isn't the way I roll. This is not how I've done anything in my life. I said, I'm not about quantity in life. I'm about quality. So I said, this is pretty rough. So from April of that period of time, at the end of April, when I met with my nephrologist, they're called kidney doctor, up till May 9th, I had a revisit. I did everything I could. I threw everything at it. I did hydrogen water, I did a diet change up, the exercise, everything. My numbers did not improve. Nothing was improving. He says, you didn't get worse. Congratulations. He says, but you didn't get better. I said, okay, this is really, really depressing. And it wasn't until May 15th I started with Vital Health. And I'm just going to stop right here because I've been told, compliancy wise, I need to make sure I let everybody know this. What my results are, absolutely nothing. I'm not claiming that you will receive the same results. I'm just saying this to be very clear and very candid. I'm only going off the basis of what I've personally experienced, and I would be more than happy to talk to anybody personally if they're going through it. I know how it's a very private thing to a lot of people. So I went ahead and I went, and this is May 9th, and okay, fast forward to May 15th, I start taking the products. My wife found out about it. She actually got
still in your jams?
Notified by you, Brooke, as to the products I should be placed on. And so I started taking the products. I didn't have a lot of hope personally. I'm just going to be honest with everybody. And one thing I noticed was an incredible difference between the way I felt beforehand with everything with diet changes and exercise and hydrogen water, which is all I'm sure good stuff. In about a span of 2 weeks, I started feeling like, wow, I got so much energy. I mean, energy when you're going through stage 4 kidney disease, you don't have energy. I don't know, like again, I'm speaking to anybody here that understands where I'm coming from, but your energy levels are pretty low. Okay. And clarity, the way you think, that was totally out the window. I mean, it was hard for me on many days. All of a sudden, in a matter of just that span of a short 2 weeks, I noticed increased energy. And all of a sudden, I was getting sharper with the way I would actually react to things, and I would talk to people and stuff like this. I wasn't like thinking long and drawn out, like, well, what's my response going to be? And all of a sudden, he's like, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe this is actually happening. And I said, all along, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm still playing devil's advocate here, and I'm saying, this is great, but my blood work is going to tell me everything. And my next appointment was July 2nd with my PCP, not my nephrologist. And I went in, she said, well, do you have blood work? This was last week. And she said, I can get a rush on this and get it back to you. I had no idea she meant the next day. On July 3rd, I received my blood work back. And I was very reluctant to open it up. I was actually quite terrified. I opened it up. And I'm just being totally honest with everybody, I actually cried. I had a very emotional moment. And I looked at my wife and I said, and she goes, what's wrong? And she says, I said, you simply aren't going to believe this. You aren't going to believe it. And I said, but I'm going to go ahead and I want to show you. Again, there's 3 levels within kidney function that you have to concern you. There's other ones, I'm sure, but the 3 primary ones that they always hang their hat on is called BUN, creatinine, and your GFR. I had, like I said, high 40s BUN previous, on May 9th, less than 2 months has gone by from May 15th to July 2nd. I mean, just do the math. My bun is now completely normal. I'm not, my normal bun is 7 to 28. I'm 16. I'm dead in the middle of normalcy. My creatinine was 3.46 or whatever it is. There's like, they get right down to the finiteness of this. My creatinine went down to 2.4. 1.6 or under for a male is normal. I'm less than a point away. That tells about how you filter your blood filters and everything, the waste of your blood in order to have normal kidneys. My GFR, which was 18, which I have to always restate this, never will get better by a 30-year doctor who treated people with kidney problems. My GFR went from 18 to 30. 18 to 30, if no one understands what I'm saying here, I went from stage 4 kidney disease to stage 3 in a month and a half. And I said to myself, for one, I had to look at the results and literally just keep looking at them like, this is just actually, am I reading, did they do the right person's blood work here? I mean, because this is how miraculous this seemed to me. As is like, you're trying to tell me that I actually, not, the GFR one's a big one. If I can get above, like, you know, to get to stage 2 kidney disease, you have to go a much further leap. But you got to understand, as soon as you get above, like what they call above 40, which I'm 10 away from, which I can only hope it keeps climbing, that gets you out of a danger zone. When you get above 60, you're technically considered normal again. I mean, not totally normal in the eyes of the kidney world, but I mean, it's pretty close. And I'm thinking to myself, you're trying to tell me from a doctor telling me this isn't ever going to happen for you. Just prepare yourself. To all of a sudden, from dialysis and kidney transplant discussions to this, I have no words for it. Like I said, I don't know what anyone else's results are going to be. I cannot sit there and say that there wasn't some other factor that came into my life that made this happen. But what was it is I have to ask myself, because I don't know what it is. I have to correlate it to the time I started this, and definitely the energy and the clarity is definitely after taking Vital Health products. That's, for me personally, that's what my experience was.